Welcome to Somewhat Nerdy Radio. We are your hosts. I am Snuff Chris.
I'm Critter.
This is issue 18 of the podcast, season 2. Volume 2.
God, you gotta learn that, man.
Volume 2. Season 2.
It's a comic book thing.
It's a comic book thing. Yes, I know. Issues, volumes, whatever. Go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the other social medias. We both have TikToks. Go follow us on those things. Eventually, we'll have a TikTok for the podcast.
We've been saying that for a while.
Yeah, a year. Along with the new website that I've been working on for a year and a half. Yeah, it's all coming. Eventually, we're back from hiatus that we took a couple of months ago. A month ago. We're back.
But you know what?
Again.
It isn't that 3-year hiatus. We only put out the Halloween episodes and then the Christmas episodes, and so at least it's full swing.
So
now.
Unless we disappear again,
which is it's plausible.
It's possible. Join us for a Halloween episode.
Because the one thing that we will always talk about is horror movies.
Yeah.
I find myself going back to that situation quite a bit, actually. I didn't realize how much of into it I was.
Yeah. Horror is definitely my favorite genre of movies. But we're not going to talk about horror movies today. We're going to talk about the best summer blockbuster movies that we actually seen in theaters.
Well, okay. Interesting we were talking about Summer Blockbuster because Summer Blockbuster started with a horror movie.
Did it?
Yeah. 1975, Jaws.
Oh, yeah, it sure did.
So it's kind of interesting to think about that one of the most iconic horror movies was directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And you forget that Steven Spielberg can do anything.
Yeah, he really can.
So he really has proven between Jaws, Saving Private Ryan, E.T., just Jurassic Park.
Ready Player One.
Okay.
I like that movie a lot.
I love that movie because it hit me right in my nostalgia.
The book is better.
Well,
But the book's always better. So. I didn't read the book until after I saw the movie. Because of you,
Because you were able to enjoy both.
Yeah.
Imagine if you read that book before you watched the movie, you'd be like,
No, it's watching the movie. A little side note here. Watching the movie and then reading the book and then realizing the things that obviously they would never be able to do in the movie.
Right.
And you kind of
well, the fact that they were able to do that much in the movie is ridiculous.
Yeah, it really
But
is.
anyway, so it goes to show how much you can do. But anyway, so 1975 Jaws came out. And what they did was they invested a lot of the money that they were allocating to several things towards marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And an astronomical amount. I believe it was like $2 million at the time.
That's crazy, yeah.
And they
what was the budget of Jaws?
I don't know. But, as you know, Jaws had a lot of issues.
Yeah, the shark didn't work ever. So
$9 million.
$9 million. Okay. All right. Wow. What year did that movie come out?
1975. I mean...
You remember 1975?
Of course not.
Okay. Yeah.
But this is just the history of when Summer Blockbusters started. They started... So originally they were, it was... this was when television was in full swing. It was kind of ruining the movie market. So movies were kind of like trying to figure out a way to come fight
where their
back.
place was, yeah.
And we're kind of going through it again, and a lot of times people, I feel like, don't think movie theaters are going to make it, but I don't know, man.
But something like Maverick comes out, or the Avengers movies, or Marvel movies, or,
There's just something about going to the movies.
Sure. Yeah, like most of the time when me and you are hanging out, that's not podcast related.
It's movies.
We go to the movie theaters
because it's an event. It's fun.
I still want to see things on the big screen. I still want to see things with the nice sound. I still want to sit in the nice reclining seats. The movie experience, I hope it's something that never ever goes away.
And it may die down, and it may
change,
and it may get more expensive. But at that point, when it's $20 to buy a movie early. And by the way, I've never bought an early access movie.
No.
I can't bring myself to do it because I'm sitting there going, it's $30 or $20-something to rent this movie. I'm not going to do it. I'll just wait till it's on streaming. And
I think I did it during COVID, during the Disney Plus days. Like Aladdin, I think, came out during that time. I think I brought that on Disney Plus.
Well, you got kids and they're
and we were all stuck in the house not doing anything. Mm-hmm. So I think that's about the only time I've ever done it.
I mean, I can see how it could happen, but as a person that's just going to sit there and I go to movies by myself all the time.
I haven't done that in a long time.
I did it recently.
Yeah, I would like to. I used to love doing that.
I went and saw Ant-Man and Ant-Man Quantumania.
You went by yourself?
I went by myself.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I went with a big group of people. I should have invited you.
Son of a bitch.
I thought I did invite you, actually.
I don't think you did.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You should be.
Yeah, I'm super sorry.
Because I invited you to Scream and you told me no.
I was having neck surgery.
I don't give a shit. You went to Quantumania without me. Go fuck yourself with you and your neck surgery. Anyway.
Look, Jaws it's I say it a lot on here, but it's one of those movies that is timeless.
It will
holds
forever
up.
be, and it's going to be talked about for movies forever.
Forever and forever. Our kids will be watching Jaws. They'll be analyzing it in movie theater.
And they'll be watching it, and they're like, I don't understand it. And then they're going to have the purists going to be like, yeah, but it's the tension, it's this, it's the music. Because the music, they started a music thing where music is associated with the movie, and it got...
And horror.
It got further,
and
Halloween,
Jason,
and not to mention, even in Scream, that they just took a song, and then when you hear the song, you're like, oh shit, that's Scream, and it's just a normal song.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they spent a lot of their budget on the advertising, 30-second spots, and they ended up grossing so much during the summer that they're like, oh shit,
we should release movies during the summer.
And then it started a franchise, and it was one of the first times it started a franchise type of thing.
It's the reason Spielberg doesn't do sequels to his movies anymore.
I think it was Jaws 3 that did it for him.
Yeah.
Or Jaws
I actually
4.
like that movie, though. Jaws 3D. It was definitely Jaws 3D.
But anyway,
The Revenge.
So it started a trend of summer blockbusters where they're going to put these... the movie theaters or movie production companies are going to blow their load on summer movies. We grew up in the... so we were both born in the early 80s. So
that means we're old.
We're old, but I mean, like getting through the 80s, most of our cognitive childhood was spent in the 90s, like between young adolescents to teenagers. So I mean, like that's when we remember a lot more shit.
Yeah.
It's
late 80s, early 90s.
Exactly.
Is like the shit that I remember early. You know?
Exactly. I mean, I remember all of this stuff that I'm about to talk about.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But because
it was like it's different from what it is now too, because the Summer Blockbuster movie and some of the movies that we're going to talk about tonight, these weren't just Summer Blockbuster movies. These were events.
They were like. It was. I remember one of the movies I'm going to talk about. It felt like a parade.
Yeah.
I remember
I was so pumped up for these movies. Some of them were, and they do these press tours at the malls. All the advertisements on TV. Everybody was talking about it at school. Like, you're going to go see this movie this weekend. It was a big deal when some of these movies came out, and that era is dead.
It is dead.
It's dead.
It's dead.
Totally
I mean,
dead.
like there's movies you will probably go see like in the summer because of this, but I mean, like I feel, and not that I'm mad about it, because I kind of feel like good movies. It used to be there were 2 dead seasons. There was between January to March, and then August to November were dead.
Yeah,
and then you have your summer and your winter blockbuster type of things. I like how it's now, like, you can get there will release good movies at almost any time, really.
Yeah.
I mean, they still focus summer and winter for the major productions, but then they're like, you know what? We're going to release this big movie, and they're pushing the envelope in the beginning of March.
All right.
It's like, hey. And then, like, Deadpool, I think Deadpool was maybe the one that kind of ruined the early dead season because it released in February, and then it just crushed it.
Yeah.
And they're like, boom, we're going to put it in the summer, and it crushed it again. And they're like, oh, we can put this anywhere.
Anywhere.
If you put a good movie out, people are going to watch it for the most part. But if you put a lot of underground stuff like Dread, which was super good, they put it out in October. Yeah. It did well, but...
not good enough, apparently.
But it's also a very esoteric comic book character.
Yeah.
And so...
such a great movie.
I'm not debating that.
Yeah.
I love that goddamn movie. So we're going to talk about our top 5 experiences for summer blockbuster movies. There may be some overlaps, as you can imagine. As a little heads up, we did go over the list ahead of time, so we didn't have too much overlap because, goddamn, it was almost the same list to begin with.
I'm going to start off with an honorable mention. It's a more modern movie.
Okay.
It's Avengers.
Yeah, okay.
2012. So as a lifelong comic book fan, the first time I was in San Diego Comic-Con when they announced the suits for Iron Man for the first time. This is before we saw anything.
Before Marvel was even owned by Disney.
Yeah. And when it was Marvel Studios, just Marvel Studios. And I got to see the Mark I armor revealed to the world live, like right in front of me. and it was a box there for the couple of days before, and it just said Stark on it and everything like that, and there was bullet holes in it, and I was sticking my camera into it trying to get a glimpse of something. You couldn't see anything, obviously, but as a comic book fan my entire life, watching Avengers for the first time blew my mind. It is actually one of the only times I ever wrote a review on SomewhatNerdy.com.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Like, I was kind of blown away by the movie. I love the fucking movie now just because of what it meant as a comic book fan, seeing all my favorite comic book characters on screen together. So,
I think it was a very good
and it's a good movie. Yeah.
I mean, the culmination of... Well, no, it wasn't the culmination. I guess it was the start of the war.
Yeah.
And again, if you read the comic book, the saga is not the same.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. The movies were better than the goddamn comic book. The comic book kind of sucks.
I don't know about that. But yeah.
You go ahead and reread that. That Thanos did it all for just death.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
He was just trying to score with death.
I like that storyline better because, that's how guys think.
I guess even
Thanos, Alien.
Yeah, even Titan gods. Just like, hey, I just trying to get women.
So, yeah, I'm putting Avengers on just because it's noteworthy in my lifetime as a summer blockbuster movie that means something to me just because of that.
All right, well, I'll do an honorable mention too because I actually not super sure when the movie came out, but it probably was around the same time. It was Ghostbusters 2.
Saw that in theaters too. Yeah.
I mean, it was something that
and this is heavy whenever I was heavy into Ghostbusters.
It was. And I remember going to see it and I remember all the hoopla about it, but I mean, like I said, I don't remember the stuff I'm talking about is going to be stuff I remember specifically during the summer. Yeah.
So my number 5 came out in 1989 and it is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This is legit the only Indiana...
Was it 89?
Yeah, it's 1989.
Really? I thought it was later than that.
89 was a bomb-ass fucking year.
I just remember being way more mature.
So, it's the only Indiana Jones movie I've ever seen in theaters. Even
Me as well.
Including the Crystal Skull. I didn't go see that in theaters. I probably should have.
I did go see it. But I mean, like, I guess I forget about it. I don't count that as the...
Oh, good. It sounds like Disney's done the same exact thing because there's a new Indiana Jones movie coming up. So this was Indiana Jones. I was a big Indiana Jones fan. Obviously, before I seen this, I've seen all the other movies.
Well, you were a young boy in the 80s. So
I wanted to be a fucking explorer because of Indiana Jones.
Yeah, archaeology, and it turns out that's not what you do.
You sit in a lab.
You don't even do that.
You don't even do that. You teach. What else you're doing was that? That was the most accurate thing about the Indiana Jones movie, that he was a teacher.
And he looked like a dork.
I love this movie. It's my favorite Indiana Jones movie out of all of them. I obviously
that's a tall order because they're all good.
Is. All of them's really,
Except Crystal Skull, but go on.
Crystal Skull is not great, but it's still Indiana Jones at the end of the day, so I just like seeing Indiana Jones on screen. Yeah, this was a big deal to me at the time. I remember watching this movie at the Dollar Theater across the lake in New Orleans, and it was a couple of months after it was in theaters, but I was able to see it at the Dollar Theater, which I went seen a lot of movies. A movie we're going to talk about later, at the same theater I watched a movie 100 times in the place. So
yeah, it's interesting. I love that movie, and it's one of those movies that I went and saw and I loved.
Yeah.
Like immediately. It was fun, it was adventurous, and I remember being freaked the fuck out when he drank from the wrong cup.
Yeah.
And chose poorly.
Sean Connery's in this movie, and
I like how their age gap was what like 5 years?
5 years.
It's so stupid. It's like
Sean Connery's always just looked older.
He has. It's kind of weird. It's like Leslie Nielsen always looked old as shit.
Yeah.
And then
Steve Martin does the exact same thing. Maybe it's just the gray hair.
Yeah. You know what? I've seen memes about this recently. It's like the hardest thing to accept is that these people are in their 40 or like look 40 or 45, and I'm like, those people look 80. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, Chris, look, man, I know it. I know we're both almost 40. Dude, I don't know if we got good skincare regimens going on.
It's really weird because a lot of people, and I'll probably explain why, always come up to me as like, what, are you like 30, 31? I'm like, fuck, I wish, man.
Dude, I get early 30s, late 20s a lot of the time.
I was like, no, I just dress like a child because I still dress like I did in the 90s. And
that's a strong point.
Yeah, that's about it. So,
I like to
have
bake
3
it on
kids,
my, I like it to bake on my skin, but
nice.
Sure. But it's not because I have night skin. It's because I have acne. Like, what are you, 16? You fucking loser.
So I have 3 kids and been with my wife for 20 years. So do the math on that. I'm old.
So, yeah, Last Crusade, fucking amazing movie.
On the list, it was one of the first things that popped in my head, obviously, other than a movie we're going to talk about later. This movie was very important to me at a time in my life. I wanted a whip that my parents never let me get.
Of course.
I wanted a brown leather jacket that my parents never let me get, mostly because we live in Louisiana and there's no point in owning one. And I tried to rock a hat like that.
A fedora?
For the longest time. And I was young enough to where nobody would kick the shit out of me for wearing it. So,
back then it was Indiana Jones or at least Chip and Dale,
or Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only people I could think of.
Yeah, but see, back then if you wore a fedora, that's like, oh man, he's going for that look. It's either Indiana Jones, Dick Tracy, or Chip from Chip and Dale. That's fucking, all of them are cool people. / chipmunks. All right, well, number 5 on my list. A little bit different. It's from 1994, and it's Lion King.
I also saw this in theaters. I think everybody did. Yeah, I mean, this movie.
But this was an event, man.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, like, I went and saw this movie so many times. I had the soundtrack. I would wake up to
Phil Collins. Phil Collins?
No, this was Elton John.
Oh, it's Elton John. Yeah.
But I mean, I would wake up. My parents would play the soundtrack. I'm a notoriously like hard sleeper, like hard to wake up. So they would play the soundtrack and
to wake you up.
To wake me up,
awesome.
They play like, you know, the beginning song, I Can't Wait to Be King, Hakuna Matata. I mean, like every morning I'm like, okay, I'm up. And I still remember, like, looking back, I fucking hated waking up, but I still look back fondly of hearing that soundtrack.
This is in the heyday of Disney animation movies too, like Aladdin and all those other movies. It's Lion King.
It's Lion King.
So
I mean, like, you can watch the live action, air quotes, live action
CGI movie.
I mean, which was good.
Yeah, it's fun.
It was good. But I mean,
Jon Favreau did that, didn't he?
Yeah. But when you get down to it, it was just Lion King. It was just the animated movie. Just watch that. You had Jeremy Irons, which is strong villain vibes from that guy.
I think other than Lion King just being really good, I really love the Timon and Pumbaa cartoon from the 90s.
Yeah.
I watched the fuck out of that show. Yeah, I mean, it's like I had all the action figures too. There was a bunch of action figures.
I had the Lion King Sega Genesis game.
Oh, I mean, that game's impossible. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, back in the day, like, think about a game you actually won. You didn't win games. You just kind of like grew up.
You kind of got a little bit worse. I mean, a little bit better each time.
And you would just kind of like wait till you got a Game Sharker, call it a day. But yeah, man. I mean, that was a big one for me. Like, I saw that movie so many times. I remember getting in a wreck on the way there, and it was a whole thing.
Nice.
My brother like got all pissed off and kind of cried. He was like, "We're gonna miss the movie now."
That's the biggest thing going on right now. Obviously, to a kid, it is though.
Because he was like, "We're running late." It was a whole thing, and then boom, we got in a wreck.
Nice.
And it's like he got out of the car like it was my mom's fault. Like he fucked up she fucked up his life. How could you? I mean, when you're a kid, it makes sense.
It does. No, I mean, it doesn't, but I understand that.
I stand by the...
I got 3 kids, so just seeing the meltdowns that come from, I don't know, one of them getting more milk than the other, that's a fucking argument in my house.
And you're like, it's because I like them more. Imagine if you said
You're saying that. My kids say that, though. So...
By the way, I mean, like, you have brothers. You know what it's like. You still think one of you is the favorite.
Yeah, of course.
And it's never
me.
Yourself.
No, it's me.
Oh, okay. I was wrong. I always thought it was...
You met me before. I'm awesome. Anyway.
Sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and go to my 4th movie, which I have... Whenever we went over a list before, I was like, I can't believe this is not on your list. It is Die Hard with a Vengeance from 1995. It's Die Hard. Obviously, it's one of me and Critter's favorite franchises of all fucking time.
I would put this movie right after Die Hard.
Yeah. It's Die Hard, then Die Hard with a Vengeance, and then Die Hard 3. Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
So,
and then the other 2.
I've never even seen the other 2, so I can't even have an opinion on it.
They're okay.
Yeah,
Live for your Die Hard.
I always treat it as a trilogy, and I totally forget there's 2 other movies. I've said that on the podcast on Christmas, every time we talk about the movie. So, but yeah, Die Hard with a Vengeance. I was already a giant fan of Die Hard 1 and 2, and which of 2 movies I probably saw way too early for my young age.
I don't think so. I think it was right on par. I think it was
I mean, I've seen way worse movies than that by that age, but when Die Hard 3 came out, I was seeing the trailers for it and everything like that, and I was like, we're going to see that in the theaters. I was dead set on watching it.
It did seem rougher than the other 2.
Yeah,
because it added a lot more language to it.
It did, yeah. There's not cursing in the other ones, but this one had Samuel L. Jackson cursing, so which is a completely different level.
Different level, and to a degree, Samuel, I love Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, obviously.
Hearing him curse just adds a gravitas to it. Mm-hmm. You're like, when he says motherfucker, it's different than when I say motherfucker.
For sure.
When I say motherfucker, it's motherfucker. When he says it's motherfucker. You're like, oh, that's okay. So I'm missing it.
Yeah, like you said, no, this is it changed the formula of the Die Hard movies. So whenever I went and watched this movie, I was expecting him to be locked in, I don't know, a tower in New York City or some shit like that. And it totally threw all that away. Yeah. It's a buddy cop movie without it being a buddy cop movie, and it's fucking awesome. It's Die Hard with a Vengeance. It deserves its place in blockbuster history because it's so good. So.
I did see that several times in the theater.
I think I saw it at least twice in the theater. So
all right, for my number 4 spot, I'm gonna cheat a little bit since you cheat almost every single time we do these.
I'm not cheating
lists.
Today now. Well, I added Avengers, but you added something too, so it balanced it out. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, like every other list, you definitely do cheats. But so there was the Batman trilogy from Christopher Nolan between 2005 to 2012. So 2005, 2008, 2012. My friends and I, this is like when we're all like in college, out of college, and we have nothing but time, so we can go see we would go see these midnight showings. And it was groups. We had a group of 8 people going to this, so it was fun. We were like, we're ready to go see it. We did that for so long, for all of these movies to go see them. So that was a big thing for my group of friends, for us to go see these movies. And they were super good.
Great. Obviously, Dark Knight it's one of my favorite movies, not of just Batman.
That's definitely the standout one.
It is one of my favorite movies of all time. It would be in my top 20. So.
We went to Batman Begins. We're like, oh, that was awesome. When Dark Knight came out, we're like, we left, and it felt like you were changed. Like, Batman changed. Yeah. Everything changed. And it was because of course, Heath Ledger's Joker. You left knowing that, like, wow, something's different about the world.
For sure. The Dark Knight, it's what I've always said about the movie. It's not only just a good Batman movie. If you took Batman out of the movie, you took Joker out of the movie, and put cops and robbers, it would just be almost a perfect fucking movie.
But what I like about that movie in particular is that the Joker aspect of it. I mean, like, he did such a good job that you left with, I remember he was definitely the same vein as what happened with everybody that's recast. You're like, oh, can he hold a candle to Jack Nicholson? And
Jack Nicholson just played crazy Jack Nicholson.
And it's just Jack Nicholson
which I love,
on cocaine, which is just Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. But then you got this guy that just, like, not only, like, people were worried that he would do as well, or, like, be even close. He surpassed him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He's the best Joker we've ever seen on screen. By far, I agree. I think. Obviously, the third movie kind of falls off a little bit. But I like the movie. So.
No. See me, I love that movie, too. Yeah. Because it was a good wrap up. It had, a great villain as well. Mm-hmm. It wasn't some villain that you were just kind of like, oh, well. Because it made sense this villain would be... what could top the Joker? Mm-hmm. And you can't top the Joker in crazy, so you have to top the Joker in physicality.
For sure, yeah.
So you had to have someone that could beat Batman's ass.
5 foot tall Tom
Hardy?
Yeah.
You want to fight Tom Hardy?
I would never fight Tom Hardy.
I could look...
I just watched him in a judo tournament, so
I mean,
no
like,
way.
if I don't know how tall he actually is.
I think he's like 5'2" or 3. He's like a little bit
like
shorter.
5'7".
Yeah, he's probably about my height.
He's probably like 5'7". But if now I'm 5'11". But
yeah, I'm 5'7". So
I promise you, I will not. If he got up in my face and he's only up to my chin, I'm gonna be like, oh yes sir, whatever you want. Sure.
But yeah, I think I used to have problems with Nolan's realistic take on Batman. I think after I watched the first movie, and it took the second movie for me to really kind of ground myself into the Batman lore that he was creating, and I really, really obviously grew to enjoy all those fucking movies so much. So
I think the hardest thing about Batman is that Batman is Batman.
Yep.
And what you're really watching is the villains.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, even in Matt Reeves' Batman, I mean, like, you have Penguin,
Yep.
you have Riddler. They are
more interesting than Batman.
Not to say that was not an interesting Batman. It's just that these characters are more interesting.
For sure.
So,
Batman's always been about the rogues gallery. So.
Sure. So, I mean, like, I know that was a cheat, but goddamn, all three of those movies were a big thing during my college years. And post-college years, too.
My third movie is The Fifth Element from 1997.
Ooh, you're just Bruce Willis heavy.
Yeah, I am. That's kind of crazy. The Fifth Element is yet another movie. If I was going to make a top 20 favorite movies of all time, Fifth Element is very close to the top. I love Fifth Element.
Every time I watch it, I'm like,
I never get bored with that movie.
And and all the cheesy special effects, they're done so well because it's deliberate.
Yeah.
That you're like, hell yeah.
The movie's just solid. And it's like one of those movies you watch and you're like, man, I want to know more about the world that they created in that movie. There's so much. Other planets they go to, aliens, and New York being overgrown, and a taxi driver from, heavy metal, is in this world, and it's Bruce Willis being fucking awesome and prime.
The guy
Bruce
he
Willis.
talks to on the phone for a split second named Fingers is Vin Diesel. So, yeah. It's just wild.
It's so good now. It's one of those, there's not many faults that I ever watched that movie as a movie critic, and I see faults in the movie. It's just almost a perfect movie to me. So, and
Gary Oldman playing yet another character that's just off the wall.
Yeah, Gary Oldman's just good in everything.
Yeah,
and it's also the main characters never meet each other in the movie, which is fucking awesome. It's so genius. They have one scene that they share, and it's them walking into a door and then Gary Oldman walking out of another door in the same hallway. It's the only time they're in the same room together fucking ever. It's great. I love that fucking movie. So.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw it in theaters, and
me too.
I was fucking blown away was that. I went to Toys R Us, I think like a week or two after, looking for fucking action figures. There's no fucking toys. I had to wait until I was in my mid-30s to find little bitty fucking action figures for this thing.
Dude, not to mention, the director of that is the same guy that did like the Taken movies.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's done a lot of great movies, but
yes.
I mean, they're very all in the same vein now. And that saying he made a sci-fi classic, knowingly or unknowingly.
I think I think I saw him in an interview. He wrote that thing when he was like 15 fucking years old. He wrote it his whole entire life.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's good for him.
So.
And then I guess everything else is just like, well, I wrote my magnum opus.
Yeah, I did my best movie ever. I don't know. What did I do now?
And by the way, I love the Taken.
Yeah.
I love the first Taken. I like the Taken movies, so.
I don't think I've seen past the second one. I don't know how many more they have.
2.
Okay. There you go.
But after that, I mean, like, he's done a lot of great movies. And when you watch him, you're like, oh, yeah, that was good. But it's just like what you expect from these kind of action movies.
Ruby Rod? Chris Tucker.
Yep.
Chris Tucker's awesome in the movie. I know some people will find him annoying in the movie, but that's the fucking
that's
point.
His character,
so,
yeah.
I mean, it's just so
he was an
good.
Influencer. My dad took me to see this movie, and he took me to see Die Hard. Yeah. Like, my dad made a lot of probably questionable decisions by taking me to movies, because I have seen so many movies because of him.
My dad took me to go see all these movies.
So
my all movies were taken. My parents were divorced, so anytime I was with my dad, anything to buy love was let me eat whatever I wanted to, buy me action figures, and take me to the movie theaters. So then when I go tell my mother that I went seeing rated R movies, that she would be mad. So that was basically why I got to go see all these fucking movies.
Oh no, my dad I think he just liked them too.
Yeah, he liked them too. Yeah.
I think I ruined them for him.
Yeah.
But because I'm like, I was a child.
I need to watch it over and over again.
And I think being around kids, my friends that have kids, and what kids are like, all they want to do is watch the thing they like.
Yeah.
Because they're just junkies for things that they like. Like, I want to watch that thing again that I just watched. We just watched it. I want to watch it again. It's like, oh my God, like, learn something new. But my dad introduced me to rated R movies, and I was like, I want to watch these movies, or action movies. I'm like, I want to watch this again. And he's like, fine. Maybe he was smart, because he's like, how about a new one? Because I remember one was Quickly Down Under.
Nice.
I was like, I don't want to see that movie. And he goes, it's an action movie. I was like, oh, okay. Then I go see it. I'm like, that was cool. I remember I did not want to see it, and then I saw it, and I was like, hell yeah, that was awesome. So for my number 3 movie, not to distract too much, I'm going to continue on with the Batman trend, and it's the 1989 Batman.
This was going to be on my list. I took it off because it was on your list. But if you were not a kid in the summer of 1989, you will never understand the hype that was around this fucking movie.
Dude, I remember it being huge.
Yeah.
There was parades, it seemed like. I mean, like, I remember going to a mall, outside mall, and there was, like, streamers and inflatables and just hoopla. Just tons of hoopla. They were giving out things for it. Like, here's watches, here's t-shirts, here's this, here's that. There was just tons of stuff. Confetti. It was
fucking
ridiculous.
Hype that was behind this movie. It was Batman. We never seen Batman on big screen other than the Adam West shit, obviously. We never seen live action Batman other than the Adam West stuff in the serials before that. It was dark. It looked fucking badass. And it had Mr. Mom in it.
Yeah. Well, and it had a budget and it had a big budget, and it had a big studio behind it.
Great movie. Obviously, that's one of those movies now. You turned it on right now, I'd probably stop recording the podcast to go watch. I love that movie.
Oh, that movie will never get old.
Yeah, obviously.
And that's arguably all these movies we're talking about will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll be talked about.
But Batman was a big deal. This I had action figures, all the fucking action figures. Remember McDonald's always did promotions. They had glasses. They did action figures.
I mean, that was later on, but for that was like when they realized, oh shit, we missed the boat on Batman and Batman Returns. So let's do Batman Forever. They got in too late.
But I had I was all about this fucking movie.
Yeah, it was one of those things that. Like, that was the first time the action figures, the action figures, and that was the packaging was different than the rest of them. You know, it was gold, and it was a little bit more boring, to be honest, the packaging. But, like, the action figures were cooler. Like, it was more realistic looking if you look back at action figures compared to the rest
some
of the
of those
day.
action figures now.
And his belt buckle, came out, and it was a string, and he could wrap it around stuff, and that was his grappling hook. But it was his belt. It was so fucking stupid. But anyway, I mean, like, that was a movie that, my dad took me to go see, and I mean, like, and I felt like I was a VIP at that moment, and maybe I wasn't. But as a kid, I remember getting stuff and being part of a parade, and I felt like special because we had tickets to go see it during all of that. So it felt like, oh shit, yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's why we're excited about the Flash movie. It's the only reason I'm excited about the Flash movie. It's
why everybody's excited.
My number 2, this is going to be odd, just mostly because of how documented it is that I hate this director, because I do. But it is The Rock from 1996. This is a Michael Bay movie on my fucking list.
There's always exceptions.
Yeah, this
was a super good movie.
This is a good movie.
It was Nicolas Cage before Nicolas Cage got super Nicolas Cagey.
Yeah.
There's that, Sean Connery aspect. Just super action.
It's
well acted.
It's well acted, and it's the action movies like we talked about on the last podcast. So, like, it's 90s action movie, which doesn't really exist anymore.
High budget 90s.
Yeah, high budget 90s action movie.
This movie made The Drive look like The Drive was made in 1976.
Yeah. It's just...
He just blew shit up.
Yeah.
Like, there was a budget, like, hey, can I blow this up? Sure.
It's the one time Michael Bay did, like, literally everything right. And it might be his only movie that he's ever done everything right. He has, obviously, I mean, he's Michael Bay, so I mean, he directs decent movies. I don't think they have a lot of substance to them.
I do typically entertain his movies.
Yeah.
Sometimes I enjoy them, but most of the time I will watch them and be entertained to a point.
Yes. My only other Michael Bay movie that I really like is The Island.
I like that one.
I mean, that's like my
I like
two
the
Michael
first
Bay
Transformers.
movies. It's all right. It's a lot of visual doo-doo on the fucking screen. So the Transformers look like...
But that's most of Transformers still to this day.
Yeah, exactly.
Even when he's not directing, it's just the movies.
I know. But yeah, this is about the only time you're ever going to hear me praise Michael Bay. I used to get a lot of hate on the website a long time ago when I would write about Michael Bay, because I wrote about Michael Bay a lot. And there were so many times that fans started making memes and sending them to the website that we used to share on the Facebook page. Because some fan a long time ago sent me, they were going to boycott my website because Michael Bay makes solid movies, and I'm a fucking idiot because I didn't understand that. And I thought somebody was trolling me, but then we started getting more hate mail on the website, so it was apparently real. So everybody started making memes about that back in the day. But The Rock is a good movie.
It is good.
I love that movie.
And I actually love the theory that Sean Connery was James Bond.
Yeah, I actually love that too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And it works and it fits. So.
And my dad took me to see that.
Yeah. My dad took me to go see that too. Everything on this list, actually, my dad took me to go see.
All right. Well, number 2 on my list. I mean, I'm surprised this is not on your list, but I'm sure it's because we talked about it prior. Is Jurassic Park from 1993. I threw the date in there like you had to know what Jurassic Park I was talking about, but you know. I just wanted to be clear. It's from 1993. Remember that when you watch it. It's from the early goddamn 90s and how good it is.
Because that's a movie that would be released now, and I think it would be like nobody would ever bat an eye about it. You know, like with the graphics and the practical effects and everything like that. Here's the thing about Jurassic Park. I like the movie. That's it.
Really?
I don't know why. The Jurassic Park, I remember watching it whenever I was a kid. I was 10 when this movie came out. Yeah, I liked it. But it was never one of those movies I was like, oh my God, fucking Jurassic Park. I've never been like that with Jurassic Park.
So weird.
I know. There's nothing wrong with that movie, obviously. It is a very, very good movie. But I've never watched that movie and been like, yeah. Oh.
Were you not a dinosaur?
Yeah, I was a dinosaur kid when I was younger. I think younger than that. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, obviously not.
But I mean, like, I'll be honest. I never grew out of dinosaurs or robots or space. Let me tell you.
Like dinosaurs.
Let me tell you what my TikTok algorithm is.
Nice.
It is dinosaurs. It is space, and it's AI shit constantly. I swear to God. I mean, like, everything that and apparently all little boys that grew up in the 80s and 90s.
My son is 5 and he loves fucking dinosaurs now.
Oh, well, of course. But I mean, it's just so funny to see that, like, I'll walk through a toy aisle and I'll see a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm like, fuck, I want that toy.
Yeah.
I never got it.
Yeah.
I swear, when the Jurassic Park toys came out and it had the damage.
Yeah, I hated that.
I don't know why it had a damage T-Rex.
I guess they just want to sell plain dinosaurs. They wanted it to do something.
All I wanted was a plain fucking T-Rex
that
was giant.
Toys, though. Yeah.
That was giant. And oh my God, dude! All I wanted was that T-Rex. But that goes further back, because all I wanted was the Dino Riders T-Rex. So T-Rex, I had never gotten a T-Rex.
Nice. I'm gonna buy you a T-Rex one day.
My birthday's coming up, so I mean, I'm just saying, T-Rex is on the table.
So to answer your question, why this movie wasn't on my list? Because it wouldn't be on my list. I don't even know what to say about that. I know.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Like I said, I like the movie. It's a good movie. But that's all I think about it.
To hear the nonchalantness of your voice about this.
I've always felt that.
I want to punch you right in the goddamn face.
It's how I feel about Poltergeist, because a lot of people say that about...
that's fair.
Like, I don't feel nothing was Poltergeist.
There's definitely some creepy aspects of
Poltergeist.
Well, like, way creepier.
But it's not like one of those movies where I'm like, oh my God, it's like... A lot of people think it's one of the best movies, and that's fine. It's fine to me. I'm indifferent to it.
Maybe I'm also in the minority, because I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Because Poltergeist, I was like, yeah, that's good.
It's fine.
But have you seen House? Because that,
House
to me,
is way better.
It scared me way more.
And we were going to go ahead and move to our last one, which is obviously going to be a joint last one, because neither one of us were going to change our number one picks. And it is Terminator 2 Judgment Day from 1991. In case you didn't know, this movie came out in 1991. This will probably be the 60th time that we've talked about Terminator 2 on this podcast.
And my poor dad took me to see this movie at least 8 times in the theaters.
Yeah, same. I went and seen this at the Dollar Movie Theater, right by the Huey P. Long. We watched it, I think, 3 times in one day. And then we came back the next week and watched it too.
I think he just took me there to shut me up.
Yeah, he
just wanted like 2 hours of quiet. But regardless, I saw Terminator 2, so I didn't care. I'm like, this is like Dad of the Year award, and I'm seeing Terminator 2, and he's like, oh my God, I just want to take a
Terminator
nap.
2, it's a movie I put on now all the time just to watch, put it in background noise. and then I put it on as background noise, and then I'll catch it out the corner of my eye, and then I sit there and watch the whole fucking movie over again, like it's the first time I've ever seen it.
Dude, and if you want to talk about special effects, Holden.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even the stuff that looks a little dodgy at times, like T-1000 when you first see him, but when you really look at it, you're like, could it get that much better? Because when you watch the newer Terminator movies, it
doesn't look much better.
It doesn't look much better.
It's a jump from Terminator.
Huge jump.
Yeah, huge jump from Terminator. But it's not much better than Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Well, I'm just talking about Dark Fate. Fate. Which was super good, but...
I don't think I've watched that movie yet.
It's good. You should watch it.
Yeah, I need to watch it. I was a big fan of the Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles.
So, yeah.
That was one of the first things I ever brought on Blu-ray.
That's weird.
The whole season.
That's weird.
I know.
That's super weird. So let's just stick with Terminator 2, because Terminator 1 was amazing. Terminator 2, you're like, how can you top that? Terminator 2, you're like, oh shit,
it's making an action movie. Yeah.
And it was a summer blockbuster that set the standard. I'm pretty sure that Jaws invented it, and then Terminator 2 perfected it.
Yeah.
And then everything else has been trying to mimic that.
For sure.
Sense. And not to mention, I'm not saying things haven't made more money. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, the hoopla, everything around it, like the toys, the merchandise, the fandom. I mean, I was a child. This is a rated R movie.
Yeah.
Rated R.
Is this movie rated R?
It's rated R.
Awesome.
And I saw this movie, and they had children's, like, clothes for it.
Yeah.
I bought it at Mervin's.
There was action figures made for us.
Yes.
You know?
And
there was video games. There was action. I think there was there a cartoon?
No, there's never.
There's a RoboCop cartoon.
RoboCop.
Yeah.
There's never a Terminator,
which is also rated R for no.
But this movie just blew my mind away. Every time I went and saw this movie, and still to this day, I'm like, this is still one of the greatest movies of all time.
Agreed. I agree. Terminator 2 will always be on any list that I can put it on. It'll be on that list. It's Terminator 2.
If you were like top 5 movies, Terminator 2 is on that list.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah, easily. We have a whole history of gushing over this movie. I think we dedicated a whole podcast to it at one time or another years ago. Every time we make a list, I think both of us try to figure out a way to put Terminator 2 on it. Is it a Christmas movie? I don't know. They don't say it's not Christmas.
I mean, it's LA. I mean, like, how do you really know when it's Christmas?
But yeah, it's Terminator 2. It's a movie that I enjoyed introducing to each one of my kids that didn't give a fuck about the movie after we watched it, which disappointed me as a father. But I
introduce it again a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to. And I think it's really just it's us living through that too. Obviously, mine and your memories are very the same of going to see it in movie theaters over and over and over again.
One of the greatest things that ever happened was I saw the trailer for it and I'm like, this looks really cool. No. Dad, can I see it? And he goes, no.
Yeah, you told her that.
Of course, I've told this story several times across the podcast in Volume 1. And I got all huffy, and I was like, why not? And he was like, well, you got to watch the first one first. So we went to the local video store and rented Terminator 1. So I watched that.
That was the place you rented videos at, and you returned them later.
Yeah, you had to rewind them.
Yeah. On a tape.
On a tape. And we had a separate rewinder that was a high-speed rewinder that sometimes broke the tape.
Mine was in the shape of a Corvette.
Oh.
Yeah. You open it up and you close it down. And nobody knows what we're talking about if you're young. And so I didn't see, we talked about this on the podcast, but I didn't see Terminator 1 until after I watched Terminator 2. So,
my dad wouldn't let that happen. He's a purist.
Well, my dad sucks. So. Yeah, but that's, what is some of y'all's favorites summer blockbuster movies? Obviously, summer blockbuster movies have been happening since the 70s, so there's a lot of them. We didn't talk about all of them. We
just try to talk about the ones that impacted us.
We definitely went and seen. There's obviously more summer blockbuster movies that I didn't see that I absolutely fucking love. Obviously, Star Wars. Star Wars are on those lists. They came out in the summer, and they made a lot of money. So, I mean, they're blockbusters, and Aliens came out in the summer. They're summer blockbuster movies. So I would put all those on. Those are all some of my favorite movies, but I didn't experience them firsthand for sure. So
yeah.
So that's been the podcast. This has been issue 18, 19, one of those.
18.
18? Yeah, it's 18. Go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you for all the positive responses for the previous podcast. We're glad to be back and pushing up some podcasts. Until we'll see you in Halloween.
Well, you will definitely see us on Halloween, but you'll see us before that too.
Go leave us a review. You can. This is the time I tell you to turn off the podcast. Go leave us a review. Stop it. Whatever you're doing right now. You're already listening to a podcast, so just stop doing that one thing and do one extra thing for us. It helps us out.
One extra thing.
One extra thing.
One extra.
It doesn't cost you anything. It's totally free this time. If you do it today, it's free while you're listening to this. Tomorrow it might cost money. You don't know.
I don't know what you're going for.
What my sales pitch is there?
It's not great. I'll be honest with you.
Anyway, we have been your host. Thank you for joining us. I am Snarf Chris.
I'm Critter.
And good journey, nerds.
Good journey, nerds.